This is a podcast for spiritual downloads, star seeds, light workers, and authenticity. Spiritual awareness is advised.
Pride is a damsel in distress, hiding away where only I can undress her. Try all she cannot to confess. In the end, it's all the same once I apply all the pressure. Thunder, bring her through the ringer. Show her I'm the judgment call, the one who makes her kingdom fall. Lightning, wield her, use and yield her. Show her what she can't conceal, for true nature will be revealed. Tell me, Odysseus, if I were to make you choose the lives of your men and crew or your own, why do I think they'd lose? Enlighten me, King of Ithaca, since hunger was far too great. I wonder who'd take the weight of the damned and suffer a gruesome fate. To the thunder bringer, here to bring your ears until you're deaf with fear, and spear you while your death is near. Lightning wielder, here to yield your time, for you have passed your prime. Sublime you for your act of crime. Choose. Someone's gotta die today, and you have got the final say. You or your crew. Please don't make me do this. Don't make me do this.
When does a comet become a meteor? When does a candle become a blaze? When does a man become a monster? Does a ripple become a tidal wave? When does a reason become a rain? When does a man become a monster?
Captain?
I have to see her.
But we'll die.
I know.
Thunder, bring her through the ringer. Show her I'm the judgment call, the one who makes her kingdom fall. Lightning, wield her, use and yield her. Show her what she can't conceal, for true nature will be revealed.
Welcome to the 1111 podcast. Let us join today with a deep breath in and a deep breath out. This has been a week for the books. You may have reached your appropriate edge this week. And I just want you to know that I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that I'm here. And it's all right. So we are continuing the series, the mini-series, kickstarting it off today with the 7 deadly sins. I need like an announcer to say it like 7 deadly sins or something. So the 7 deadly sins is what we're going to be discussing. But first, if you haven't already submitted a topic request that you would like to hear, please feel free to reach out. Let me know what topics you'd like to hear covered. You can reach out via social media, email, etc. Whether you want to be featured on this platform, whether you want me to be a guest on yours, or if you would like to just let me know what topics you want to hear, or maybe even nominate someone as well. Of course, reach out to them first. But yeah, any ways that we can connect, collaborate. Definitely, if you have not yet subscribed and checked out the YouTube channel, you're going to want to do that as videos are being posted more frequently. So make sure you turn on the bell notification so you can be made aware of that. And I must say, for all of the trials and tribulations and all of the pain and stress and struggle and grief, it all has purpose. And a lot of this pain has been very monumental for creative outlet. So every stone or every challenge I've personally faced and conquered for the most part has really been used as a muse for my creativity. So without further ado, if you are not aware of the artist we know and love, Mary J. Wanna, I have the marijuana plants in the back of the background screen. Shout out to Jimmy on Twitter who sent me this many years ago. But the artist we know and love is hosting and putting on a virtual concert. So there have been a few virtual concerts in the past, but if you haven't been to any of them yet, I would encourage you to attend this one. You can get your tickets on Eventbrite. I will leave the link in the description. Go ahead and book yourself a ticket. Get yourself ready for the virtual event that we've all been waiting for. I know Mary J. Wanna, the artist themselves, has been waiting for a while for this. And so, yeah, it's been a lot behind the scenes for sure. And yeah, if you want to check those former live videos out, you can also check them out. I've been live streaming them here on the 1111 Podcast YouTube channel. So you can check those out. And you can always connect social media wise as well. So, what else do I want to say before jumping right into it? You may have noticed the introduction there. If you haven't already claimed your gift for this season, the first 2 episodes, the divine feminine and divine masculine energies, both represent a spectrum, a perspective of the whole. And so you can claim your gifts from those 2 episodes previously. And yeah, if you have already claimed it, you may have recognized that as from the epic musical. And this may or may not be flagged at a later point, but I do want to encourage getting this material out and actually connecting to it, because it's, in my opinion, very powerful, and it's very ushering into what is, there's so many layers that are going on right now of the past, the present, and future. And I feel like there's a lot of creative artists who are transmuting their pain into art, who are transmuting their lessons into wisdom. And so if you have a message, if you have a gift, please share it. The world will benefit from it. You will feel better for it. And we need you here. So please do all of that. And if you haven't already checked out the merch store, if you want to get some 1111 merchandise to rock, to wear, to advertise, feel free to do that. You can always check that out as well. I appreciate every like, every comment, every share, every listen. So please keep doing that. And if you're looking for learning instrumental music, whether it's through software production or learning how to pick up an instrument and learn it, I do also offer music lessons. The music YouTube channel is kind of on pause right now as I reorganize other creative outlets right now. So that'll be back up and running probably during the summertime, during the Selah. And if you're not aware, if you're looking for spiritual counseling and holistic healing, feel free to reach out. I know it's not easy. The hardest part is to reach out for help and understand that asking for help is one of the bravest things you could do. So I would encourage you to reach out and yeah. So I'm getting a notification that my device needs to be updated. But yeah, we'll attend to that in a second. So the 7 deadly sins is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, before I go any further, the word sin has such a negative connotation because it has such religious rhetoric wrapped around it. So I just want to start by saying this is not about religion. It has influence from that time. This comes from the Roman Catholic time frame where this was even created or established or listed. So it's coming from a very ancient time, from the 4th BC or the 4th century, coming from a time where there was a lot of lack of consciousness, lack of awareness, lack of being able to integrate the light and the dark. It was very extremes. So I want to just start by saying this is not to condemn anyone or to judge anyone or to make anyone feel bad, wrong, guilty, or shame, or anything like that. We chose to come here in these human bodies to experience all of this human experience. That means to be a full human, you must embrace the full spectrum of emotions. And experiencing that also includes the shadow aspects of our psyche, the shadow aspects of our nature. And when I use the word sin in this program, in this series, I'm not pointing a finger at you saying you shouldn't do this. What I'm coming from when I discuss this is to say, why are these listed this way? What does it mean? And to me, my personal definition of quote-unquote sin is anything that creates separation from yourself, from the divine, from others. Anything that severs your connection to love. Anything that prevents you from loving or receiving love, I would consider a quote-unquote sin. Because we are here to be divine beings, embodied embodied creatures and creations to create this world. We are the vehicle that spirit moves through. So if we're judging ourselves for what we've done in the past or what we're doing in the present or what we may do in the future, we are actually disempowering ourselves and operating out of fear and guilt and shame, which is not part of the spirit. It's a part of the duality we live in. But in the highest form, those frequencies, those energies do not exist in other dimensions, in other places. So I want you to know that your worth is innate. No one can take that from you. Nothing you do can take that from you. Nothing you don't do can take that from you. So I want us to try to take off any blinders we may have. I want to just congratulate you for even clicking on this, because I know the title could have been like, I don't want to hear that religious BS. That's some doctrinated bull I don't want to be involved in. And I don't blame you. I don't either. And that's why I don't consider myself a religious person. I grew up around religion and have those influences, but it's been very detrimental, to say the least, and I've seen the damage it's done to other people to operate with that kind of mindset. But I do want to understand what these energies are communicating, what they mean, why they're there, and how they can benefit us. So before we can live, truly live, we must first die. Die to ourselves, die to our former lives, die to our ego, have an ego death. I spoke on the previous episode about spiritual awakening. I wasn't fully living until I had my spiritual awakening, until I died to my former life, until I opted out of the Matrix. That's why I love the movie The Matrix, because it gives the visual experience of what it feels like to actually opt out of these programs. It's not pretty. It's not cute. It's not trendy. It's very grueling. It's very painful. Your entire world becomes shattered. All the illusions, all the things you may have believed in are now dashed on the rocks. And you have to reform your mind. And you have to reprogram yourself. It's not an easy process. And many do not choose to do this. Not truly. And to each their own on their own journey. And so, if you are on this spiritual path that only a few really find and continue on, I would just want you to know that you are supported. And you know, I've been feeling so many other light workers either awakening, or I'm in the radius of other light workers, because the heaviness that I've been dealing with just in the past 24 to 48 hours would have put me on my ass a few years ago. I would have not even be recording right now. I'm grateful that I'm even vertical right now. You know, they say any day above 6 feet under is a blessing, right? So I was definitely at that verge of, yeah, to a very dark place. And you know, but I can feel, this used to feel so heavy, and it still can be, but I know that a lot of it is because of my growth and healing. I know another part of it is that I'm in environments that support me, i.e. not around toxic people, narcissists, energy vampires, etc., Skeksis, relatives, whatever you want to call it, energy. Not around those familiar traps and those familiar strongholds. Not around that kind of unconsciousness. Consciously choosing what I say yes to and what I allow in my space. So I'm not feeling, when you're around people who are unconscious, well-intended people, they're not evil, they're not bad, they're not wrong, they're just unconscious. They're not integrated with their heart and their soul and their mind. They're only operating out of programs oftentimes. Again, they're not bad or wrong. They are just very asleep. And so what happens is they tend to project their negative traits onto you, or they will make you do the work that they refuse to do, whether consciously or unconsciously. And that is not beneficial or helpful for the empath. And so they say an empath without boundaries is self-destruction. So yes, people who are abusive, people who are unconscious will get mad at you when you have boundaries. They will do all kinds of things to you, say all kinds of things about you, and to you even. But that's not going to be your problem or your story. Your journey is to protect your own energy. If you're a healer, you have to be also a protector. If you're not matched up with a protector as a counterpart, you have to find that within yourself. You have to be a healer and a protector simultaneously. You have to protect your own self. And I think that as you learn to protect yourself, you will naturally gravitate that mirror outside of yourself if that's what you desire. So the 7 deadly sins, what are they? First and foremost, what are they? We have pride. We have greed. We have wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Now just sit there and think about that for a second. What comes to mind when you hear those words? What images? What's the first thought? And then, before you start to think, well, maybe I've done that, realize we've all been in one of these categories, if not all of them at the same time. So, yes, you can reflect on ways you have been that, and then you can also reflect on ways others have been in those energies towards you. And with that outside perspective, seeing it from How was this detrimental? How was this beneficial? What did I learn? What did I gain? Etc., etc. Diving deeper into questions without falling into the pit of despair, without falling into guilt, shame, remorse, but holding yourself in esteem to say, yes, I did these things, and I learned from them, and I felt grief for the way these things perpetuated in my life, the way they held me back, the way I hurt others. When we have been unconscious, we are going to hurt each other. That is part of the human experience. So be comfortable with understanding perfection is an illusion. You're not going to be perfect, but you are perfectly imperfect, meaning to accept yourself, flaws and all. Flaws, strengths, perceived weaknesses. I don't think of anything as a quote-unquote weakness. It's a strength that just has not been fine-tuned. So I do think the language that we use and how we speak to ourselves really matters, and how we show up really matters. So my manager likes to say that you put your stamp on yourself the way you show up. Some of us have a tramp stamp. Shout out to, never mind. So we have these experiences that are here to expand us. And I understand that these past 24, 48 hours have been, again, testing me to reach an appropriate edge. And I know that it's happening because I'm asking for more. I know that it's happening because I'm also pushing the universe to the edge, saying, look, you said we can do all of these things, so I need all of this to happen. And so the universe is like, okay, well, I first need to strengthen you first. So let me put you through a little bit of hell first. Let me put you through a very challenging moment to see, will you sink or swim? Well, get your life vest on, because we're out here living. And yeah, it was a very, very challenging past couple of hours. So the more that we die to ourselves, the less these energies will influence us. So most of the time, the more mature a person has evolved in their spirit, the less these quote-unquote 7 deadly sins will impact us. One, we will have integrated them in a way that is healthy. Secondly, we won't even be tempted or entertaining anything that's toxic or anything that is contrary to the spirit of love. And all of these 7 deadly sins keep us away from love when they are exaggerated in the detriment. So understand that we are here to understand just that. I guess that's it. That's just it. Now everything has a light and a dark, including us, including these energies, including everything, right? So the light and shadow sides of pride do exist. They do exist. Before I go any further, I do want to take a quick break. I need to take a quick break. So let's have a little break, shall we? And then we'll return very soon. Welcome back. Thank you for staying or recommitting to this journey. Now initially I had planned to place the music during this break, but I was feeling like I just want to get this done. I don't have a lot to give right now. I just want to kind of get the message out there. And that's not the way I want to operate. Because that's already starting from a depleted cup. And we must pour in our own cup first. So I had to realize I'm trying to muscle through this, and that's actually contrary to the message I'm even speaking and what I want to do. So as I'm doing this, trust me, I am learning right alongside everyone, as we all would be. And what happens is when we operate in pride, one of the shadow aspects of pride is arrogance. Arrogance to think that you have all the answers. You've seen those people, the know-it-alls. You can't tell them nothing. They take no advice. They heed no warning. They don't even listen to themselves. You know, you've seen these people. And I think that we can acknowledge those negative traits that pride exemplifies within us. So people who are arrogant are not confident at all. They bolster themselves to inflate a false pretense of who they are. Confident people know who they are. They accept responsibility. They accept themselves for their positive traits and for their negative traits. And they don't deem one better than the other. They understand they coexist for purpose and meaning. And arrogant people are actually very insecure oftentimes. You've seen the bullies who are bullying everyone else, but they are probably also being abused themselves. But often they're also very insecure. They have a deep self-loathing for themselves most of the time. And whatever wound prevents them from loving themselves, they camouflage it with arrogance. They paint over their mess with a pretty face or with some kind of quote-unquote success by human standards. And arrogant people often will think that they're right when they're completely wrong. But they may not even heed that. They may not even want to hear that. They will avoid that. They will probably click off this video. You know, they probably have already left. You know, that kind of stuff. Like, your demons know when to abandon ship. And we all have a set of demons and angels that guide us. And it's about embracing them all. Not everyone wants to or can. I think everyone has the potential to, but I don't know if everyone can. And that's up for debate, right? Prove me wrong. And so that can be a negative side effect. But in addition to that, to the negative sides of pride, we have stubbornness. Stubborn, arrogant pride. So people who can be very prideful, even when they're beaten, they won't concede. Even when evidence disproves their beliefs, they will never say you were right. They will never say I was wrong. They will never say these words out of their mouth. And we see that. We see that portrayed in the media, in leadership. We see that all in so many ways, which I don't think true leadership actually is any of this. So I really shouldn't even say leadership. We see this in social norms of people in quote power. But if you often notice people, if you have to say you're in charge, then you're typically not. Real kings and queens do not have to announce that they're kings and queens. They just are. And they show up as that. So when you need all of this power to quote unquote flaunt that you are in charge, you're actually the most powerless person. So pride can equate a unhealthy stubbornness where you don't even know why. You just are not bending at all. You're not flexible. You're not conceding. You are just staying stuck and hardened often in a pattern or a cycle. And people who can operate in the negative sides of pride are very immovable. So even if they are growing and, doing things internally, spiritually, they may still be stunted, or they may still be anchored to something from the past. And then you combine all of that to equal the foolishness of pride. The foolishness is another side effect of pride. People who often operate in pride make foolish decisions. They make mockeries out of things. They mock people, they mock things. They don't realize how embarrassing they look to people. They don't realize that they discredit themselves. And they say if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So oftentimes when we operate in pride, we are missing out on the bigger picture. And we are missing out on the gift that we could actually be receiving because we want to stay stuck in our ways, or insisting that this is the way, or not budging, or doing things that are very foolish, and not wanting to face and feel the weight of that embarrassment, really. And so we've all been there at some point or another. Maybe we have. But there are also positive traits to pride. But often it's the negative ones that keep us out of love and keep us in separation. Pride shows up to divide people. You cannot love when there's pride in the way. Unhealthy pride, that is. Such as the examples I've given. I'm sure there are more. But when you have pride, it's kind of like the tarot when a card goes into the reverse. And if you're not familiar with tarot, I would encourage you to listen to the episodes I've done with tarot, about tarot, and I'll leave them in the description also. But when a card goes into the reverse, it has the most toxic, negative, disrespectful traits about it. Now the card itself is the same. So when it's upright, it's the positive aspects of life. When it's in the reverse, it's the negative aspects of life, the low vibrational energy. And so the same thing with these words, these energies, these quote-unquote deadly sins. It's the same root, such as pride, but when it goes into the negative, that's what you get, negative and dark energy. And I don't even want to say dark because it can actually tip into evil. All of these quote-unquote deadly sins, and I think that's what makes them so deadly, is they can easily tip into evil. And what I mean by that is people who operate with one of these, and that's another thing, people who operate with one of these tend to operate with more than one, because demonic energy does not like to be left alone. It likes to recruit. It likes to have attention. It likes to have like an audience. It does not want to be alone. It cannot survive alone. It has to have people noticing it. And that's why you have to kind of starve yourself of addictions, of toxic influences, because demonic energy in the spiritual realm will go back and get 7 of their cousins and come right back for the host that's vacant. That's one way. But also people who are unconscious, especially people who are stuck in the matrix, literally, they will recruit you. They want you to keep it in the family. They want you to, oftentimes back in the day and even now, people will have their partner meet their relatives, their family, and they say, if their family approves, no, I don't like that person, they get rid of them. But guess what? The person who the family approves of has the same demons that the family has. Most of the time, especially if it's an unhealthy, abusive, toxic family. So oftentimes, they recruit. They tell you from a young age, follow into my footsteps. They don't teach you to follow your own or to create your own. No. Your father did this job, so you're going to do the same job. That's the kind of energy that I'm referring to also. So there is, the physical level where we are in this realm, this dimension of how demonic energy plays out. And then there's also the spiritual embodiment realm of what is actually happening also. And all are simultaneously going on. And that's been part of my shamanic journey, is learning how to balance these energies. And it's much needed to have a mentor on this journey, but in the absence of one, spirit will guide. And I wanted to mention this also because I opened this season talking about the divine feminine energy. And we need to balance them both, masculine and feminine energies. But I gave many examples, and one I forgot to mention. One that I want to mention now. I gave examples of people who embodied feminine energy. I think the ultimate person I can think of that I know right now, and there are many, so I'm sure I will never name them all, and I'm grateful for all those who came before us, but she's been coming up a lot in my psyche, and I want to give her her flowers. Princess Diana of Wales. She was an embodiment of the divine feminine. And I appreciate her. She's an inspiration. And it's unfortunate, and I'm sorry for what happened to her. She had courage. She had love. She was soft in her feminine energy, but she also was a badass. She also, I don't even want to say that even diminishes who she was. A goddess, you know. And a goddess is all of it. A goddess is Kali, you know. A goddess is all of this strength combined. And that's who Princess Diana was, you know. And she got matched with someone I see as a headless horseman, a coward. And she paid the price for that. I mean, they all three of them really paid the price, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, her work and connection with like Mother Teresa and just who she was and who she embodied, and I'm glad to see her spirit living on in at least one of her children. So I'm very grateful for that. So I just want to say that because she had a purpose to line up with a royal family that wanted to keep tradition going, that wanted to keep it in the family. They told their son, now king, don't marry who you love, marry for money, marry for, you know, to look good, and all this BS. And the foolishness, he listened to them, even though he was, you know, having extramarital things on the side. It was still his inability to stand up and say, I will not follow these traditions. I know that this will result in me being cut off, but it's worth it. That wasn't his journey, and I respect that. But for those of us who it is our journey, I say take that long road to get home. Take that long road. It can get lonely, but not any more lonely than you already feel. So, the positive attributes of pride. As they say, your ancestors gave you more than just generational curses. You got to claim those blessings as well. So the positive light side of pride is to have pride in oneself. To be proud of what you've done. To be proud of what you haven't done. To be proud of who you are. And most importantly, to actually know who you are. To have a healthy identity. And a lot of us have been and may need to even go through an identity crisis to get to who we truly are. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you find out. That's how you learn. But to feel proud of yourself, to know that you're doing the best you can, and to feel proud of your culture, your race, your sexuality, all of these things you should feel proud about. And often people who try to make you feel bad about it feel bad about themselves. They want you to be down because they're down. That's what I'm saying here. That's the same toxic energy. If I can't succeed, no one else should be able to succeed. If I can't find love, no one else should be able to find love. And you have to love yourself enough to say, screw that. That can be your journey. It's not going to be mine. So be proud of yourself for all that you've done, all that you've accomplished. The fact that you're sitting right here listening to this is something to be proud of. So congratulating your growth and achievements is part of positive light side of pride. Going after your goals creates a lot of pride. Challenging yourself creates pride. Taking risk, healthy, calculated risk, helps increase your pride. You know, they call the kingdom of the lions a pride. And they call it that for a reason. Now, of course, the sign of the lion can show the inflated ego and the toxic traits of the lion. But there are always something positive also. So which viewpoint do we want to see this from, and what attributes do we want to attend to? What attributes do we want in ourselves? So all it takes is just a little bit of fine-tuning to turn those receptors to the correct format to get your result. So when we have these things that are blockages, which is what pride can become, a blockage on your journey, you have to move the energy. You have to transmute it. You have to evaluate it. You have to insect it and investigate. Where is this coming from? What is it feeding on? Where did I learn this? And really dive down that rabbit trail. So how do we heal this wound? Because all of this comes from a wound. Trauma opens the door for demonic energy and angelic energy to come in. So we have to go through the steps to heal ourselves, to be willing to face whatever pain we've experienced. So how to heal this wound of negative, toxic, egotistical pride? We must first find the root. Find the root insecurity. So I did an entire episode on insecurities with a special guest on that one. Our insecure. So check that out as well. But understand, insecurities comes from our earliest experiences that taught us that we weren't good enough. Taught us that we had to earn love or prove ourselves to be loved. Taught us that we were not lovable as we were. And taught us that we were unworthy. We have to dial it back to that. Some of it may not even come from this lifetime, depending on your journey. And I would imagine that most of it is all combined. So things linger over. There's so many layers to this interweaving road that we are on. So understand, where did this pain originate from? And there will be people in your life that will test you, that will trigger you, that will resemble that familiar pain. And it could be tempting to lash out on that person who's just showing you that it still exists in your system. But we must dial it back to, where did it originate from? And you can use people, you can resource these people to help you understand what is it that is being revealed. You know, I had just a situation that really almost had me given 13 reasons why in these past 24 to 48 hours, where I had someone really silence me. And I had to realize that's been a theme of either silencing myself or allowing myself to be silenced. And instead of trying to get this person to see me, to hear me, to love me, whatever, I had to accept this person cannot. This person can't. They just, if they could, they would, I would hope. Or there would be an indication that they wanted to, but there is not. So me saying anything or doing anything would actually just be me not using my power and my source as optimally as I could. So I just took it at face value to accept this person, to understand this person avoids their own emotions. So there's no way in hell they can understand and engage with my own. And they avoid more heavy emotions, such as pain, such as grief, such as rejection, such as all of these things. They're not engaged, they're disconnected from themselves. So that would be unwise of me to expect them, or to even want them to engage with me. It did not numb the pain, it was still very painful, but it did give me an acceptance of it and help me release it to not take it personally. So understand, a lot of these things that trigger you, it's not even about them, it's about you, and it's about understanding it's not personal. These things happen to show you where healing can reside, to be more transmuted and integrated. Now I want us all to know that healing is a continual journey. I don't think we are ever, I think once we reach the full healing, we're probably on the other side of the rainbow bridge, I would think. And, you know, part of this pride is is that it can block us again from connection with others and connection with ourselves. And so when we're learning how to heal this wound, address this, we have to learn how to practice self-love. How do we give and receive love? How do we speak to ourselves? How do we speak about ourselves? Do we have an honest assessment of ourselves? So we want to learn how to develop confidence versus arrogance. Arrogance, again, is painting a painting over, you know, a piece of crap. It's like, let's paint a masterpiece over this piece of crap that we have behind it. There's still crap there, like, we can smell it, it's still there. So you have to learn how to develop true confidence. True confidence comes from learning to trust yourself. The word confidence from the Greek word to learn to trust oneself. And when you truly can trust yourself, you're not so concerned about being taken advantage of or not being able to trust someone else, because you have a deep well of trust within yourself. So it's not the other person who you're handing that trust to. Your trust will be earned through other people's reflection to you, and you get to decide whether they get to stay or go from your life. But you have to be very honest with yourself. You have to see a clear representation of yourself. You have to see yourself through an accurate assessment. That means the good, the downright ugly, and the beautiful masterpiece that exists when you combine it all. So you have to see it for all of the fullness. And I don't think there's a way to not feel shame or guilt or embarrassment. You have to feel those feelings first. You have to be willing to feel in order to get to the root, in order to get to the gold at the end of the rainbow, right? You have to be willing to feel your way through it. Life is a feeling process. It's not about thinking your way there. It's not about it making sense. It's about, how can I feel through this? And so a lot of times people develop unhealthy pride to keep feelings of shame and negative emotions away. People who have inflated egos often do not have a healthy understanding of emotions. They deem some as good, some as wrong. They don't want to feel anything that doesn't make them feel good. So a lot of times these kind of people can operate in denial. They're not in reality of who they are. They're not in reality of the state of the world. They're not in the reality of a situation or a circumstance in their life. They either use fantasy to opt out of it, or they just completely use any other coping mechanism. They forget it, they suppress it, whatever it may be. But when you're trying to heal this wound, feelings of when you mess up, you're going to feel that. It doesn't mean that you are bad or wrong. I know that's what shame tells us. But you have to kind of talk back to these feelings. If that's in your vocabulary to do, you have to reassess. Feel the feelings without letting them overwhelm you. Feel the feelings without it let it overtake you or taint your identity. Again, your worth is innate. So even if you feel shame, even if you feel guilt for something you did or did not do, that's just your source telling you something needs to be corrected. It's not saying that you are bad, even if you've done something bad. To separate the action from the person. So having a proper assessment of who you are is going to help. Practicing self-love will help. And then if you really want to take this to the practical level, you're going to have to do some practical things. So balancing the spirit with the human. And a big part of that is putting yourself in situations that will challenge you to grow in this area. And even if you just surrender it to the universe will bring you an experience to help you. So one thing that can happen for people who are very prideful, they lack humility. They lack humility. So they either have one or two things. I've seen this quote before. It says, there are two types of people. People who are humble and people who are about to be. So if we do not humble ourselves, the universe will humble us. The universe will bring in a tower moment so catastrophic that it's not there to destroy us, it's there to heal us, it's there to free us. And so when we have these situations happen where we are so inflated and so just over the moon over ourselves, the universe will remind us in some way, shape, or form, you're not God. You're human representing God, but you're not God. So we have to learn how to either humble ourselves or be willing to be humbled. And when the universe righteously will humble us, to actually not take offense to that. There will be people who are still in their 80s who are continually getting humbled and will continue to resist that. Let me just say, those kind of people are not on the same path that you or I are probably on. So if you are trying to heal this wound, find opportunities where you can operate in humility. What does humility mean to you? What ways can you put yourself in situations that require a humble spirit? And I'm not talking about, let me go volunteer at a homeless shelter so I can be humble. No. That might be what you need. But if you're going into it with the imposter syndrome of, this will look good on my resume if the spirit qualifiers, you know what I mean? If you're going in it still with ego of, I'm doing this so I can humble myself and be, accepted and approved of, it's going to result in those same type of reactions. So it has to be from a genuine place. You have to genuinely humble yourself, which means facing your fears, which means asking questions. A lot of people who operate in pride tend to assume that they know better, or that they know what it is, or everything even. But it takes a very brave and humble person to seek clarity, to ask questions. Because when you ask a question, you risk rejection. You risk showing where you are when you open your mouth at anything. You know, it takes a lot to put yourself out there. You risk potential people's opinions and judgments of you. But guess what? Everyone is judging all the time. Whether it's themselves, whether it's everyone, doesn't matter. So there's no way around it. And a lot of us may try to avoid pain, but pain is the threshold that we have to go through to get to the beauty on the other side. The more that we avoid pain, ironically, the more we stay in it. So we have to learn how to truly, genuinely operate with humility. To say, I don't know everything. To be honest, you know. And in addition to that, when you're putting yourself in these practical situations, one other thing is to learn how to experience rejection without taking it personally. Understanding that rejection does not, as you know, yes, rejection is divine protection, yes, we know. But it's also learning to experience that rejection without letting it crush your identity and your ego. So when we take the mask off and we're vulnerable, we risk being attacked, being rejected, being hurt in some way, shape, or form. And that is probably one of the biggest hurdles for someone who's healing from pride, is to be vulnerable without running away, without avoiding. To be vulnerable means to risk pain. It does. That's why love is so scary, because it requires vulnerability. It requires trust. It requires all of these things. And so it's very important that we practice it within ourselves as a part of our self-love journey, so that we can receive it and be ready for it on the outside. So understand that if we are serious about really wanting to heal this wound of pride, we got to be willing to be vulnerable, willing to put ourselves out there. And it's not easy, as I've said, and I'm sure you guys have experienced. It's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. But I do think, as the great Bob Marley once said, the harder the battle, the sweeter the victory. So I feel victorious, because the past 24, 48 hours, I was like, y'all really are trying to take me out, aren't y'all? Like, I know I'm strong, but dang, you know? And on the other side, to be sitting here across this camera right now is a sweet victory, you know, because a couple years ago, I'd probably be, you know, wrapped up in a ball somewhere and just, you know, rocking and shaking, I guess. But no, here I am just chilling, you know, just because it's all good. I understand. And so take the lessons that we can. Understand that pride is a part of the ego, and the ego is a protector. So you were hurt at some point, and that's when pride decided to show up and say, I won't let anyone hurt you again, because I'm your ego and I'm your friend. And I'm going to protect this sensitive, vulnerable aspects of you, because when we showed that before, we were hurt. When we showed that before, we weren't taken as part of someone else. No one gave a damn about us. So we're not going to let that happen. And we're going to show how strong we are by not getting close, by avoiding people. But we need each other. So it's a fool's journey to think that you can get through this alone. You need people. We need people. We need the right people. And so understand that it all has a purpose. It's all divine. And it has purpose. And when we learn to operate with our heart and integrate our mind, trust our gut, know that your intuition is always accurate. Your intuition is always right. It's just the more healing you do, the more you can sharpen that discernment. The more you can really trust your intuition, because it's no longer set to a default setting of trauma. The more you heal, the more you'll learn to really trust your intuition. Your intuition is always right. It's the human debris and the fears, the doubts, the worries, the ego that gets in the way that prevents us from hearing it clearly. And even a healed, very healed person, the most healed person, they still need more than just their intuition, because the intuition is only half of the story. We need to hear the rest. But I'll go ahead and leave this right where we left it, and we will pick up again with the next deadly sentence if you should embark on this journey. Beware. Alright, so if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit the bell notification, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Listen out for these podcasts. Check out the Eventbrite. Get yourself a ticket for the 420 concert. 420. Okay, I'm going to leave this. I hope you all are well. Let's take care. Until next time.